Call the meeting of this Charter Review Commission meeting to order. All are in attendance. Did anyone get a chance to look over the minutes from our last meeting? No?
Yes.
Were there any notes or corrections? I did not notice any. Anyone else? All right, I will accept the motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions?
Aye.
All right, it's 401. Why don't we hear from Rich about his meeting with the Sewer Commission this past week?
All right.
So, our meeting was rather, I don't want to say brief, but it was a good look. They're a 5-member board, all voted in, and they staggered their terms. I believe it's 2 at 2 years, 2 at 2 years, and 1 at 1 year. So there's quite frequently an opening, and the people in place usually continue to get voted in. I think 2 of their members are 20-plus years on the commission. So they're in charge of a lot. I think a lot more than I even realized in the beginning. But from the history, from what I heard from them, this started out as a Board of Selectmen controlled situation, and then as the sewer systems got more complicated, the rules got more complicated, it just became to the point that it was time to move forward and have a board. And they've had a commission since. So it's been approximately 30 years or so. And they have their own enterprise account, and it's basically it's our, for lack of a better term, it's like an electrical company. It's a sewer company. They run everything. They negotiate with Brockton to get our rates as low as possible, so they're constantly monitoring the flow. They're constantly looking for ways to increase the flow out and or make sure that we're being compliant with all the regulations so that we're not spewing waste everywhere. So it literally is, I mean, you see the office, they've got multiple people there. It's a full-time job plus the commission's duties. So they would not be in any favor of making any significant changes to the charter. They feel as though what they have is rolling smoothly, and their enterprise has been very fiscally responsible with upgrades to the point that they've cited past projects in other communities up to and including Boston that when it was left upon people that were not managing it properly, it fell apart to the point that it was on the towns or cities to make some major repairs, which were major costly to the town. So they certainly cautioned any significant changes like that they manage the account in conjunction with the people that we hire, such as John Stone, to handle all of this on our behalf, and they do a very good job from the looks of it. They said they would be more than happy to come out to our meeting if we had any additional questions, but at this point, they would refrain from making any changes in the charter.
Okay. Do they say what their main duties are as a board?
As a board is to manage the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Their biggest thing is managing that waste. They do a constant communications with Brockton and Rockland and the other areas that we're dealing with so that they can manage the rate. So they cited at one point, I want to say about 10 years ago when we were at capacity, they spoke with Brockton and negotiated and realized that we were being maybe not necessarily overcharged, but charged fees that not other towns may have been charged or not, and they got some of that corrected, which also in the interim negotiated additional flow so that we were able to open up the construction that we had going as well as minimize the rates. So they've saved us hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more, over the years. And our rates, from what they said, although they've just been increased, our flow versus the rate increase that we're getting now, our flow is not what it was 10 years ago. It's more than doubled. So on a dollar for dollar, we're still a lot we're in a good position as far as that goes. So they're very happy with what they're doing, and it seems like they're being very proactive, especially with the other projects we have potentially going on in the town. And I know the airbase is going to be a separate situation with their water and sewer, but they're constantly monitoring that to the point that they're actually getting ready to do another flow test to see where they're at, and the safety in the system, so.
All right,
Okay.
great. Thank you for that report.
Yep.
And every year, I think John Stone puts out the rates that different municipalities pay, and it's like half of what MWRA pays.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. All right.
It's a lot more complex than I realized, so
Yeah.
it was an eye-opening experience.
All right. Moving on. I sent everyone around a updated version of all our draft language to reflect changes we discussed at our last meeting. While updating the spreadsheet, I also realized there was 3 or 4 that we hadn't drafted language for that is now on the end of these. So I can get your attention all the way towards the end. One titled Charter Enforcement.
Do you have a number on it?
No, I gotta put some page numbers on this. Let me do that right now.
There you go. 4.3B.
Yep.
Yep, so right now, there is no language anywhere in the charter about enforcement. And it was kind of explained to me that, you know, with charters, they're not overly enforced anyway. But the thought was that at least put into the town manager's list of responsibilities while he's enforcing the laws of the Commonwealth and the laws of the town and the bylaws and the regulations established by the Board of Selectmen, he might as well also enforce the town charter. So it doesn't get any more specific than that. It doesn't, you know, give the ability to arrest or issue fines, but it at least says that enforcement belongs there.
Yep. And I think I asked this before, but I know we're saying the proposed text is Board of Selectmen, but the idea being is that that would all say Select Board?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I didn't put a page in here that basically changes every reference to the Board of Selectmen, just because it would take very long.
Yeah.
But, yeah, the expectation is that the next version that comes out would have,
With
would
all
be
that,
all
yep.
amended and changed.
Just want to make sure. Yep.
Yeah. The next one was computation of time. We had talked about this. It's a weird thing where doesn't include holidays until you get over 7 days, and then it includes Saturdays and Sundays, and I never got a good explanation as to why we're doing it this way. So. You can ignore the in C.
Yeah, you're just cleaning up. That just makes it easier.
Yeah, I don't know why, if you say something has to be done in 15 days, you have to include the weekends, but if they say something has to be done in 5 days, it doesn't include the weekends. I don't know.
Yeah, I think because, I think I remember seeing something about like fortnight or, I don't know, because that like 2 weeks out includes weekends, but less than 7 days, you're assuming it's less than a week usually. So I could see that, but it just starts to get confusing.
Yeah,
So
unless
just keeping it all the same thing.
So unless we hear a really good reason why it needs to remain the same, I don't see why. Bylaw review committee terms. I think Sean Riley had brought this to us a while ago. The idea being the way that it's currently worded, it almost sounds like the bylaw review committee really should be working parallel with the charter review commission. And instead, it just says that once the Charter Review Commission has wrapped up its business, there is immediate handoff to the Bylaw Review Commission at one point. So bylaw review is supposed to happen every 5 years, charter review happens every 10 years. So on that 10-year intersection, bylaw review happens as soon as charter review is completed. And then at some point, 5 years later, there's another bylaw review.
I like that.
I think the last one is board member onboarding. This would be a new section. And it basically just says, new members should be informed about the committee's specific roles, powers, duties, roles, and given a whole bunch of stuff so they know what to do. And told a few people about this around town, and they really like this one,
I really like this one.
so. Update on a couple of the other ones. I did talk to Barbara in the town clerk's office about the first one, required annual training. Apparently there's a new state system that tracks compliance with, ethics training, open meeting law training and all that. And they suspect that it could possibly just be part of that process. They can go in and find a name and just type a note saying they've completed Citizen Planning Council courses or something. So going to just,
Do they have the time to do that?
they didn't say that they would refuse to.
Okay, I'm just asking because they're
Oh, yeah,
pretty much maxed out usually,
yeah.
and that'll give them a whole bunch more stuff to do. That's
So,
all.
Leanne was at a conference, I think, a lot of last week, so I'm going back to talk to her specifically, but, yeah, they may not need to create a document, there may be a
Mm-hmm.
app to do it of some sort, so we'll just make sure the language gives them flexibility to use some sort of tool.
And it's not like they're getting, there's been 9 conferences that different people have attended weekly. Like, it's not like there's gonna be a ton of additions, so.
And, let's see. This text was also provided to the Finance Committee. Quick review by Matt Sal, who's back being chair, is that the budget language seems to make sense to him, and they'll be talking about it, reviewing it in more detail, but no immediate red flags went up, so he seemed cool with it. We're asking to appear before them sometime soon to go over it in whatever detail they want, whether just their stuff or all of it. I don't think they need to basically rule on, endorse a lot of it, but at least the part that affects them would be helpful. So those are the updates I have for the text. Are there any others anyone else has wanted to discuss or,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
On 792, on the cost associated with the implementation,
What was the title of it?
it's the OML as a minimum
Okay.
standard.
I
Yes.
think it's every month.
Okay. In the cost, you have the town will need to coordinate with ACAM or its successor, et cetera. I don't think ACAM should be in it. I would propose the town will need to provide services and/or equipment to provide electronic recording capabilities for the public spaces to record committee meetings that currently lack them, or something of that nature. Because ACAM is not part of the town.
No, that's fair. Can you send me what you just said? Oh, there you go.
I had written it off the old version, but,
Yeah.
you can,
Yep, so the cost associated with implementation is just more of our notes, not part of the official charter language, but we can certainly update
Yeah.
that just to make it
I just,
clear. Yep.
yeah.
Sorry, there was 2 other things. we haven't talked in a while. Town council made a ruling about the need for a special election on the
Oh,
Board
yeah.
of Selectmen.
Yep.
I think I forwarded the.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if anybody took the time to go through and look at the cases that were cited. Were interesting, not, exactly specifically relevant to the situation, but, they made the ruling, and I don't think it's the wrong thing to do necessarily, but I am surprised to learn that shall doesn't always mean shall, so.
I think it would change if this was not a year where we have 4 elections in town.
Yeah.
I think that's really what it is, like, you have the primary March, town election in April, like, it starts to be like, that is very cumbersome to the town
Yeah.
on a very cumbersome year.
Yeah.
If it had happened last year, or what, I think the ruling might have been a little different.
Yeah,
But
I
I
think-
think the due hardship, and knowing that it's at the end of the term, and it's not 2 years left, like, I agree with it. I think that's reasonable assumption,
Yeah.
or reasonable,
It's reasonable because having someone serve for 3 weeks. and then
Yeah.
by the
having
time
no
you can,
election is-
because you have all of the time constraints of when you're supposed to put out a notice for elections, when you're supposed to put out the mailings, like we put all that there to make sure everyone has that information, which makes it very difficult when you're that
Yeah.
close.
So, I don't think the decision was wrong, we're just more surprised about the way they got there by saying, talking about shall, so.
Yeah, that was funny.
I was just trying to figure out there was 2 of them, and I just blanked on the second one, so I'm trying to look it up with
The town employee running for,
Right.
So, we have a town
I'm still
employee-
shocked that I just assumed that was already written, so I'm just still flabbergasted by that, but.
And you're not the first person to mention that to me as well in the
Yeah.
past 3 weeks. Not making any commentary on the candidacy or the decision, just wanted to make sure people were aware of it. Again, I don't know much about him beyond his role as building commissioner.
Yeah.
But this would definitely be something that's affected, and I don't know if it'd be retroactive or.
Yeah, so how does
what.
that work if we,
There've been many town employees that have been
Yeah.
members of the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, and I still kind of go back and forth on it because it's such a small town at times that it's hard. But on the other hand, it's like,
we also have what, 12,000, 14,000 registered voters?
10,000.
10,000? And how many people volunteer? That's a lot of people that are eligible to be able to work or volunteer, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. So I kind of go back and forth on this one, to be honest. I don't.
I think when I think of it, I think of the school, but it's because the school committee negotiates with the union, so maybe that's why it gets
Yeah.
even dicier, but.
And the Board of Selectmen does negotiate with some of these
Right.
as well. I mean, that's kind of where the overlap.
So, for that, like, do we have something in place where if this happened before, like, do they recuse themselves,
Yeah.
or, okay, that's,
Yeah.
so as long as they have those opportunities, but,
And they do from budget and discussions when those areas of the budget come up. Yeah.
but what will happen here if it's, because this will be voted on at town meeting, does the charter become like April 2nd, that's the new charter?
Yeah.
So then the
Oh, no,
April
doesn't it-
town,
Does the state have to approve it?
I think AG would have to approve it.
Yeah.
Actually,
Right.
I think the number of changes we're making, it is going to have to go to the ballot anyway. So it's going to be a 2-step approval process, I believe.
okay, so I'm just trying to think like, if it was approved April 1st at town meeting, and then it goes into effect April 2nd, the town election's April 27th, it's now not, he can't run, right, or he or she, like, so how do you, but if it's implemented after the fact,
Yeah.
then
so-
anything going forward, then in 2025, potentially, that's when it would become a thing, and that's just the last term
Yeah.
that was allowed? Okay.
That's
That's what I'm
a
thinking.
question for the lawyer.
Okay. That's how I would interpret it, like, if you have
Yeah.
all that timeline, like, I
Mhm.
get it, but it would just have to be implemented by January 2025 before nomination papers go out. There is like that hard deadline.
I would assume that, yeah. these things are often reviewed very slowly at the state level.
Yeah.
Like, it's usually 4 to 5 months before you get
Yeah.
back on zoning bylaws and stuff, so.
Right, so if you think we also have a ballot, though, if we approve it at town meeting, sorry, I'm just trying to understand the timeline,
Yeah.
and I love to ask questions, but.
That's why you're here.
So if it's approved April 1st, send it to the state, it takes, what, April, May, June, July, August, September, are we gonna have a special town meeting then, late October, to vote on it potentially?
We're gonna have a vote in November, right?
Yeah, we have an election in November.
This year we do, so you could add it to the state one, yeah, or the,
Get a lot of voters
National.
out for that.
hmm?
We get a
Yeah.
lot of voters out for that.
Right.
I know.
The only thing I will say, playing devil's advocate, is when you have somebody running in that capacity, or any board for that matter, in the town, whether they're in town employees, most town employees are also town residents, so,
Right.
and being a resident, you have to be a resident to get on those types of committees, so they're invested in the town.
Yeah.
You can see that too, and they have knowledge.
And they have
of how
knowledge
things
of the
work.
inner workings that certainly benefit the global
Mm.
decisions being made at that level. Is it right, is it wrong? That's up, for everybody to decide, but just putting that out there and
Mm.
that. You gotta kind of take whatever personalities aside from the past, present, or the future.
Right.
And make it what's
Yeah, I
best for
don't-
the town.
Yeah, I don't know who's who, so that helps
Yeah,
me.
absolutely, absolutely.
As not a townie, I don't have any past information.
But you could
You
still,
keep getting on committees, you will be.
I, getting there, I say I'm raising a townie, I'm just not
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
you can still run for certain committees and be appointed to certain committees. It would just eliminate some that you would not be eligible for.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, it's where you have the direct oversight. Like, I
Yeah,
think
to be your
kind
own
of the
boss.
reference is, are you negotiating
Right.
contracts with
Yeah.
that group?
Right.
So, for instance.
Like, I would never run for school committee because I work at a school and I could
Yeah.
benefit from any decisions we make, whether
Right.
it's hiring, whether it's firing, like any of those, even if it's not in my school, I might benefit from it. So the amount of recusing I would have to do would take away my responsibilities.
And likewise.
And I feel like the same here, there is the idea of the experience, but then there's also having someone who lives in town and wants to make changes. There's also that benefit too, that doesn't have those inner workings, that maybe that might change their views too. Like, yeah, I think it goes either way, but I just feel like it's just muddy waters. I just don't,
Yeah, and, it's probably good to have, a teacher on the Board of Selectmen because there's you don't have that intermingling. I don't know, I'm still up, but, it's certainly something we've heard from people around town and as kind of the reaction you've had, I didn't realize that wasn't a thing.
I just assumed that
So-
was, I don't know.
So my thought is that we keep moving forward. We can be a little mushy mouth when it comes to this one, and we still have the option of pulling it off if we decide, you know what, we don't think it's the right thing. We don't have to. Whatever decision we make this evening doesn't have to be the one we have to stand behind on the floor of town
Mhm.
meeting. We can pull things so we need to still.
Okay.
So, still have a little bit of time to think about it, but for now, continue pushing, keep it on, pushing it forward. Hear from the Board of Selectmen, hear from Finance Committee, hear from others,
Mhm.
see what we get from other corners.
Sorry, I have a question. If you're on the Board of Selectmen, can you be on any other elected boards?
No.
Okay. I feel like that's a very similar scenario, so.
You can only hold one elected post at a time. All right. Any other discussion about the language as currently presented?
We went through so much of it at the last one,
Right.
the last couple, but it's looking really good. And thank you for putting all of it together in the tracker and everything. That's really
It was
helpful.
amazing.
Because it's a lot. And just playing catch up for me.
Oh, were you okay with the changes to the tracker, just how we reference what we're going to be recommending
Yes.
forward?
Yep.
All right. The way that I'm viewing it, this kind of gets into our next agenda item about our final proposal package is, I do want to include a list of things that we're suggesting get pushed off to either the bylaw review committee, Board of Selectmen, some other entity. So that'll be a whole section of the report that we give in, are those 6 or 7 items that we've identified.
Okay.
And they'll kind of just be, handed off to whoever takes over from there. But the next big step in this is, aside from getting the public hearing side, having town council review and going before all the committees and everything. We do need to prepare a final report pretty quickly. I think last week we talked about starting to pull together all of the minutes and agendas and everything.
Oh, right.
If someone can handle that, that'd be incredibly helpful. And then what we're gonna do is, we'll give a little bit of a narrative about what our mission was, our approach. We'll talk about what we did for outreach. We'll go over the results of the survey. And then we'll get into our recommendations and the things we're passing along. And then part of that, one of the appendix will be all our minute meetings and agendas.
Okay. I think we had said that the Google Drive should include most of those.
Yep. And I think I have a lot of it in the drive. If you want, let me know.
Okay.
If we're missing something here or there.
All right, I'm gonna put this on my calendar for the review, because clearly it was in my notes from last time, and I looked at it, but didn't do much with it, so I'm gonna do that right now.
So we have a meeting scheduled for the 29th.
Leap year.
And the idea is that this is going to be like our big informational meeting. I need to talk to the moderator tomorrow, basically find out if we need a official posted advertised public hearing, or is it just an informational session, or how that whole piece of it works. Because I don't see that in the charter. I don't know if this qualifies as a public hearing. If so,
Or
we need
is this something that
advertisements.
we're recommending as a warrant? Or-
Yes.
I feel like when it's usually a warrant, you do a public hearing, but is that just like standard practice and not, yeah, okay.
So at the very least, we need to get the word out about the 29th in all our various circles, make sure people know.
Yep.
Doesn't mean people will show up, but we at least need to show that we've made an effort to
Yep.
get it out there. So, my task for tomorrow is to make sure that our webpage is updated, that the most recent language is up there. And then try to get as much information out as possible through various channels as we can.
We had put a mission statement sort of together the last meeting.
Did we?
I think we spewed something out and I was like, can someone else make it sound nicer? I think we said something along the lines of like, trying to make it easier, trying to keep the town government responsible for transparency and open access and accessibility,
Okay.
not just in language, but in presentation of boards or something. I feel like it was something along those lines.
Okay. Do you have access to Google Docs? Are you familiar with them?
I'm very familiar.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll check.
So I will start one.
I think I don't know if I think you shared it with me. Yeah, I think I'm good.
So I will start a new one and
Okay.
start to put this into an outline and start to contribute and add things. And
Okay.
this is kind of the last big lift, I think. Because this is the report that's going to kind of live on in infamy. Yeah. Yep. Anything else?
No.
All right.
If you find out when you're, we're going in front of the FinCom Board of Selectmen, just let us know.
I'll also see about getting a couple large versions of these printed out for the senior center that they can flip through.
Cool.
Go hanging out. We'll get them, things posted online, et cetera. Open to ideas anybody else has for,
Couple at the library?
we'll post at the library.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Talk to Tony to get it on the town calendar.
And then is there a February newsletter going out?
For the senior center, or for the
Or
town?
for the town?
I can find out.
That might be helpful too, just like here's a link to what's been going on, and if we can get this all put together.
Yep.
When does the warrant close for town meeting?
Probably pretty soon, but they,
March something.
yeah, but they know we're
Well,
coming.
they know there's an article.
They can put like a placeholder.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. We've done the last couple of years with CPA, so
Okay.
they know
So-
like it's coming.
That's
We just
all that
don't have like
matters.
the official, I think the
Yeah.
official language has to be in by the first week of March or
So
something.
this has been, copies have been provided to the town manager and the town
Right.
moderator. They know
Right.
that we're finishing up work.
Yeah.
This isn't a surprise to them.
Yeah, no, I know, I just didn't know if we had to have, when we had to have official, when
Um,
we had to vote by.
Official is, night of town meeting. I
Yeah,
mean,
okay.
It's happened before. I'd rather have it all
Yeah.
buttoned up
Right.
soon. So, any other questions, thoughts, concerns, worries?
No?
All right. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Nope. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.